Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about Legacies, episode 414, titled The Only Way Out Is Through, which premiered Thursday, April 7th, 2022 on the CW. I'm recording a few hours after the episode is aired, so technically it's April 8th for me. So, huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first, and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. My other video reminders are up on screen, so take a moment to remind yourselves of those. Got a little delayed with the recording. I got caught up in a little bit of a marathon of sorts. So yeah, but now I wanted to talk about it, get my thoughts out before I head off to bed. So let's get right into it. What happened in this episode? So episode title, which is The Only Way Out Is Through, was said by Jen, aka Vulcan, to Lizzie and Aurora. When it comes to timeline, it's said by Lark and MG that Hope has been at the school for less than 12 hours. Therefore, it's at least less than 12 hours since the end of 413. I'm assuming the end of 413, and they don't mean like when she first arrived at the school in 413. But anyways, there's that. Episode reminder, I'm going to say it's like we got to see a magical version of chess with the gods. It was kind of like their version of Wizarding's chess. Pretty sure, what was it? Wizarding Cup was also mentioned by like Vardamus or something. I don't know, but like that was a huge, it was like game simulations almost in this episode, which is kind of cool. Feature creature of the episode, I guess you can kind of say it's the gods, because it's we do get a little bit more backstory about like how they kind of gotten kind of like stuck in the sarcophagi. But I guess I can also say feature creature, really, in a sense that we got to learn a little bit more about our super squad and their specific powers, for sure. So that is something, like, for example, we found out that MG is faster than Caleb. Had that testing with a race of sorts. But yeah, like little things like that. But the storylines for the episode, I picked up on 3 different ones. We have battle simulations, where's the key, and collecting coins, which is the whole limbo storyline. So with the first storyline with battle simulations, we get Vardamus returning by Hope's request, and he works with Wade so that they together can help predict the best battle strategy for the super squad to embark when going up against the gods. And this way they've set up the members of the god squad to be Aurora, Lizzie, Jen, and her father Ken. We'll talk about that later, but he's supposed to be the father of the gods, you would say. And so the super squad is trying to figure out all the different ways with Tribrid, No Humanity, Hope, how to take him down. They pretty much fail. It isn't until Tribrid Hope finally listens to Humanity Hope's way of thinking, and they start doing the simulation with Humanity Hope's traits, that they're able to see a win in their favor when Hope takes the brunt of the attacks, as opposed to letting everybody else take the attacks and she's the last one standing, kind of a thing, which is what Tribrid Hope is trying to do. So throughout the whole thing, we do see more of a struggle. We do see Tribrid Hope hallucinating more of like a Humanity Hope manifestation, kind of a thing, which leads to her, pretty sure it's her humanity who kind of broke through, asking for someone to restrain her or kill her before she kills them, kind of a thing, because it seems like she was gaining control over the non-humanity aspect of her. I think that was my understanding from it. But yeah, the way they find out that it's Hope's humanity that brings courage to the super squad and gives them hope that they will, no pun intended, have a chance of beating the gods, or at least beating them in a way that it would get Ken, the father of the gods, to want to retreat, but then they would like band together and like take him down as one, kind of a thing. Anyways, pretty cool how they show all the different simulations and stuff. So there's that. Second storyline, though, about where is the key. This is dealing with Lizzie and Aurora trying to get more answers from Jen, aka Vulcan. We do get flashbacks of Jen, of the time before the gods went to sleep in their sarcophagi. We found out that that Jen created the sarcophagi to protect them against Malivore, because they feared Malivore and his ability to make people forget about them, because their greatest power was when people worshipped them and like prayed to them and such. So she locked them away. She lied about having a spell wake them up when Malivore was defeated, and she locked them away and threw away the key. She threw away the key. I think she hid it inside Ben's body while he was chained to the rock by his curse. And we found out that Ben and Jen are also half-siblings. I guess from the fact that she's a god, he's a demigod. Probably they share the same father. And she led Malivore to Ben in hopes that Malivore would consume Ben and the key, and then the key would be lost inside Malivore. But when Malivore got defeated, she thinks that Ben was lost in wherever he was inside Malivore, not realizing that when Malivore died, Ben got spit out in a way. Or how did Ben get out? He would have gotten to the prison world, and then he must have came out here. Any chance he would have been that prison world warrior that we saw? No, because that was fake Landon, right? Huh. Interesting. Anyways, yeah. But we did find out, though, that even though Ben got consumed by Malivore, Jen still remembered him because Malivore's forgetful trait didn't work on the mind of a god. So that's up there. After finding out that the key is in Ben, Aurora and Lizzie go back to the school to kidnap Ben, and to have the new plan of, instead of awakening his father, they're going to wake up Kronos, since he was more of the god of time, and hoping he could grant them their wish. Also, while they travel back, we'll talk about that later. So we have that. Third storyline with going to Limbo, we see Landon trying to follow the Ginny or Zeed's rules about collecting the coins, while the Necromancer is trying to get their contract broken by kind of being the quote-unquote worst employee ever. But this then leads them to find out who this coin bandit is, who's trying to steal all the coins collected from Zeed. And then Landon and the Necromancer end up getting tranked and taken hostage in a van and driven off into the dark. So that's a mystery there. The last scene of the episode shows Alaric being on the phone with someone about putting their plans for Hope in action, as her humanity seems to be fighting forward or trying to push through, while Hope is still unconscious in a cell. I have a feeling if anyone is in contact with Alaric about Hope, I feel like it would be Freya still. Because I feel like when we got to see the school in season 5 of the originals, I believe Freya was the point of contact when Haley was MIA and Klaus was kind of halfway around the world. So yeah, that would make sense for me. We don't hear her voice, obviously. I kind of wish we did, or we got to see a little bit, but I understand why we wouldn't be able to. But anyways, let's move on to characters very quickly. So with Jen, we find out from the flashbacks and from her what she told us, she was the black sheep of the family. She was the black sheep of the family. She wanted to create things instead of destroy things because her family reveled in like war and destruction and such. So she wanted to create armor to help protect her family, instead of creating weapons to help destroy things. So when her family feared Malivore, they came to her and asked for her to create something to protect them, which is where the sarcophagus came in. She lied to them, like I said, about a spell putting them to sleep, and it will reverse itself when Malivore is defeated. But instead, she doesn't want she locks them up, throws away the key so that she's not tempted to wake them up, because she knows waking them up and them finding out that she betrayed them was going to have huge consequences. So there's that. With Ethan, he does return to this episode. We find out that apparently he's a mix of two monsters with his powers, because he said that the Puck-Woji only explains half of his powers and not the other half. We'll dive right into that later on. We do find that. With Cleo, we find out by the end of the episode, she does decide to figure out what is truly wrong with her magic, going a little bit haywire. Right after Vardamus tells her that the pain she feels when she's using magic, it could just be a sign that something is changing within her. Not that she has lost her connection fully to magic like she feared. Now, Lizzie, I was going to say it before, but when Lizzie returns to the school, she sees that Alaric is awake again. And she's very tempted to go and reunite with her father. And Aurora was willing to let Lizzie do that because she wouldn't have seen that as a break of their quote-unquote unbreakable bond, or this blood pact that they have with each other. It's only broken when Aurora feels like Lizzie betrays him. But Lizzie doesn't go to Alaric. because she thinks through the choice of doing so, because if Aurora fails to wake up Cronus, so she has to wake up Ken, then Lizzie would have to tell her father, and then him and the Super Squad would have to fight against Aurora, and Lizzie's not going to let them do that without her, but then that's Lizzie going against Aurora, and that is what Aurora would deem as a betrayal, which would result in Lizzie's death because she broke that quote-unquote unbreakable bond that was established between them in the previous episode. So that is the reason why Lizzie is sticking around with Aurora to see their pack through. So that's something there. So let's move on to tidbits, though. Finch is mentioned. She's not shown at all, but she's mentioned to be handling the pack off screen for Jed as he deals with Super Squad business. We also see MG and Ethan make a pact together that no matter what happens in their fight with the gods, that they will make sure that Lizzie survives that fight. Which makes me feel like one of them is going to die after this battle, just from that setup alone. We also see Vardamus repairing and upgrading the therapy box after Hope destroyed it at the very beginning of the episode. We also see some awkwardness between Ben and Jed, yet they both did tell each other that the other one could make them better men. So like Jed was telling Ben that he can make Jed a better man, and then vice versa. But yeah, there seems to be some awkwardness after that kiss they had in the previous episode. But it doesn't look like they're like sweeping it under the rug, thankfully. But there's still that, I guess, that awkward transition of like, well, what are we now? Because what are they now? Are they dating? Are they not? I don't know. So there's that. But let's move on to the most shocking moment of the episode. I will have to say it's probably going to be the fact that when they did the battle simulations, finding out what the Super Squad actually needed in order to defeat the gods. It was that they needed Hope's humanity to bring the Super Squad together to fight as one against the gods. If anything, we always thought it was just going to be Tribert Hope's ruthlessness that was going to do it, but apparently that's not the case. That was a hindrance to their success, so that was actually a shock. But I'm glad that's at least pushing a step forward as to why Tribert Hope should let her humanity back, So there's that. But let's move on to favorite moments. First one has to be the battle simulations. It was just a bunch of fun what ifs being played out in front of us. And just to see Wade having like all of them have like player profile cards of like what your battle strengths and weaknesses are, seeing how they were, and just seeing them actually think out their plans and what their actions will lead to, which consequences that followed afterwards. I really appreciate that. I also, on a production level, I really like the battle simulations because it was a great way to get everyone included in the episode, minus the limbo stuff. Every actor involved in the battle simulation, or everyone involved in the episode, to be part of that battle simulation, because of course you have the Super Squad, you have the Lark being there, you have Vardamus, you have being there, but then you also have Jen, Ken, Lizzie, and Aurora also being there, but acting as like the enemy chess pieces of the battle simulation, while their real selves are either shown in a flashback or shown elsewhere in the episode, in a location. So I thought that scene was pretty cool, just to have like all the cast members together, minus Landon and the Necromancer. So I thought that was pretty cool. Another favorite moment I did have was Lizzie and Aurora. The moment when not only them teaming up together, but also in their dynamic of like wanting to be better and working towards being better. But the moment when Lizzie sees that Lark is awake again and how she really wants to go to her father and be with her family, and instead of Aurora just like holding it over her head saying like you made a bond with me. Sorry, I'm like short circuiting here. It's pretty late right now, but instead of Aurora like dangling over the fact that like you have this contract, you have to stay with me kind of a thing, I really like the fact that Aurora wanted Lizzie to go reunite with her father, and like how she was saying like, I wouldn't consider this a betrayal. I wouldn't consider this you backing out of our deal. And it is like, go live your life. At least out of the two of us, you have what you were trying to get from searching the gods. and go for it. So I really like that moment. But then I also really like that Lizzie was able, instead of just taking it, she took a step back and really thought out the consequences of like, but if I went to my father now and got that instant gratification, where would that lead me in regards to my pact with you? And she thought it out. Eventually, it would lead to her betraying Aurora, which would ultimately lead to Lizzie's death. So I really like that instead of just rushing in and making that very quick and simple decision of like, oh, I gotta go see my dad, I gotta reunite, I gotta tell him how it is. I feel like they both thought it out. So I do appreciate that huge growth of like really taking a step back. Another favorite I did have would be just the huge parallel that you see between what happened with the gods and what happened with the Michelson family, especially with the fact of them, first off, majority of them being stored away in coffins. That's literally how we were introduced to the Michelson family, was Klaus Michelson pretty much carrying a majority of his family in uh, in coffins while being desiccated with white oak, with the daggers and with white oak ash in their bodies. And then Elijah's trying to search for them. Here you have similar the same thing where you have Jen carting around her sleeping family in sarcophagi. She locked the keys away. And then you have another family member, Ben, who's trying to find ways to take down this family. So you have some similarities there. You have some to the sense that Jen was also the black sheep of the family. Klaus was the black sheep of his family. It's just like a lot of parallels, which I really appreciate in the introduction of the two families. Because again, it's like you're kind of tapping into the pre-existing mythology that you have. And I guess essentially the gods are the first ones who did it, essentially timeline wise. So it's like I really appreciate that. I will say, let's go to the peeves now. My first peeve was the fact that every time we saw Humanity Hope, or the manifestation of Humanity Hope, and I love that we got to see Danielle Rose Russell like kind of playing opposite herself. But the peeve that I had was the fact that when it showed Humanity Hope, it was very obvious that she was just CGI'd into the scene. Like it was very obvious. So it's like maybe it was a production cost thing, maybe it was a production timing thing, when they couldn't just have, maybe they only had time to film Humanity Hope in front of a green screen and then just inserting her into the actual scene where Tribird Hope got to film in the location space, instead of having the time to get her Danielle switched out between the two hairstyles while still on set for that role. But it was just very obvious for me. It's like, yeah, that doesn't look like the same quality. And I know they were trying to make it that like she was more like a manifestation, but it's like for Tribird Hope, it's to the point where she's supposed to seem real to her, like her being there. It just didn't. So like that was a peeve for me, for the quality for that. Another peeve is the fact that what is with all the names that end with EN? Like first we get Ben, you got his half sister Jen, and then you get her father Ken, who is probably Ben's father as well too. And I'm thinking, really, are we having it that like all the gods are just gonna have names with one syllables ending in EN? Ben, Ken, Jen? Like, really? Is that gonna be a thing? Because like that's like too close to each other. At least with Supernatural, they had this tendency of naming the first few angels we got introduced, their names ended with IEL, but at least they had multiple syllables in it where like you saying the name did not sound like another angel name. And it's only when you spell it out then it's like, oh, they do have the same ending. But this one, Ken, Ben, Jen, it's like, that's too close. Like, really? Are you making this a thing? That's like, it's a P for me. It's like even when I was trying to figure, like even when in last week's episode and even in this one, whenever I was trying to talk about Ben and Jet, I always got mixed up between the two because they sound so similar to each other. So imagine if Ben actually was in a scene with Jen and potentially their father Ken. That's going to be a huge tongue twister right there. So not looking forward to that. Tongue twister, I mean. Totally looking forward to the reunion on screen. But anyways, so let's move on to random questions very quickly. One, it's about Ethan. I thought Ethan only had invisibility. And now in this episode, you tell me he has teleportation and invisibility? Like, when did he get teleportation? Because I always assumed he only had invisibility because he would turn invisible. He would just move while invisible to another location, and then he would just become visible again. How did that turn into being teleportation? Like, it's not like with how Nightcrawler teleports with X-Men. It's not like how with Leo from Charm teleports as a white lighter. It's not it, it's not like that. Like, you literally stop seeing Ethan when he turns invisible, and then he suddenly reappears elsewhere that he could physically walk to. It's not like he's teleporting to like another room instantaneous, or like to somewhere in the room that he couldn't just walk there in just in the same amount of time, you know? So I'm wondering, when did he have teleportation? Like, since when? Another question. With MG's statement about not everyone surviving the battle with the gods, who do you think will be sacrificed? Because MG and Ethan made that pact, I feel like one of the two of them aren't going to survive, and let's be honest, it probably won't be Ethan that will survive, just from like the seniority between the two on the show. But who do you think's another person? I feel like it'd have to be two people, because MG made a point of telling Ethan that in the last simulation they ran, he found out from Wade that at least two members of the Super Squad had died in order for them to win, which is what initiated him to have the idea of creating that pack in the first place, to make sure that Lizzie survived in this ordeal. So I'm wondering who else won't live out to see past the fight, will be the question. Okay, next question. That bandit operation that's happening in Limbo looked like it was more than one person involved. So I'm wondering, who do you think is under the mask? Could it be some familiar faces that are stuck in Limbo, or at least just some other new characters we're going to have to get used to? No idea. Last question. If the gods were going to grant a favor to whoever defeated Malivore, in this case it would have to be Hope, then can Hope's favor, if they do uphold that, can it be just for the gods to not attack her and her friends? Like, or like they just part ways and just like leave each other alone kind of a thing? Or would it be a situation where it's like, it would have to be either you or I survive kind of a thing? Like, is it an ego thing, a power trip kind of a thing? I don't know. But there's that. But let's move on to predictions very quickly. Based off the promo for 4/15, it looks like Hope returns to New Orleans. We see the Michelson family, that is Freya, Rebecca, Cole, and Marcel, returning, trying to get Hope to turn her humanity back on. Since Hope is still stuck at the school, I feel like it's probably going to be some kind of like a magical therapy box kind of a situation, or another Chambre La Chasse thing that they're going to try to do to get her back in New Orleans. But I definitely can't wait to see that, for sure. They definitely did not hide that in the promo. But based off the synopsis, though, for the episode, it reads, Hope continues to be swirled in confusion and fighting her humanity, which results in her seeing the people who mean the most to her: Rebecca, Marcel, Cole, and Freya. Caleb wants to introduce Cleo to his world, including those who had the most profound influence on his path. Meanwhile, Lizzie devises a plan to get in someone's good graces. Okay, for Lizzie, it's definitely going to be either Ben, she's trying to get good graces, or she's going to try and do something to get into Cronus's good graces or something. But she's definitely with Aurora still in the situation. Caleb's family, maybe he might introduce Cleo to that. I don't know. Maybe we'll get more tidbits on like maybe his life as a human, or maybe what happened to make him turn into a vampire. A little bit more. We got briefly at the end of last season, but I'm definitely more curious as to see the Michaels family return, find out what they've been up to, but also figure out what they plan to do to get Hope to turn to her humanity off. Like, what triggers are they going to be able to really like dig deep for her to really want to bring the humanity back? Because as we know, Hope has experienced a lot of loss, to the point where it's like we can't blame her for not wanting to experience that anymore. So I'm very excited to see all four Michelsons again. But yeah, I can't wait for that. But moving on to any news or updates, as of right now I'm recording, there's at least 20 episodes listed for season 4, with the finale being set for May 26th, based on the press release from the CW that was found on Futon Critic. But there has been no word about season 5 yet, which has me worried. But I'm hoping that May upfronts are happening the week, I think it's May 17th for CW. The correct date will be up on screen. But I hope by then we'll know whether or not we'll have a season 5 for Legacies. That way, when May 26th happens, we'll find out if that's meant to be the season finale or if it's meant to be the series finale. I hope it's a season finale, because I really hope that if next season is meant to be the last season, that they can actually write and plan for it to be the final season, and not just try to make do with the little time they have left if this finale turns out to be the series finale. I hope not, fingers crossed. I do want to see more happening with the show, but we'll have to wait and see about that. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. What did you guys think of the episode? What did you guys like about it? What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your own thoughts, theories, and opinions about all that good stuff. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, check my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. Link for that is down below. I read blog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all found in one place. Go check that out. I am behind. I'm probably going to wait until season 4 is done, and then I'm just going to do a mass upload or reblog for all of that. But that is on my list of things to do. Also, WordPress link is in the description box below. Anything I post online is connected to WordPress. A little more organized, a little more detailed, but still a work in progress as well. Same thing, I have to update that due to some URL errors when I was linking between tags. I really got to figure that out. But as I mentioned last video, I just started a new job. It's week 2 for me this week. So I'm still trying to get in the hang of my own new schedule now. Trying to fit in where I can do my own screenwriting jobs on the side, where I can fit in all this internet upload stuff. But I'm trying to figure out a stable balance, so bear with me. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. I hope you come back next week to see what I have to say about the Michelson reunion. Until then, though, this is Mel. Wish you a great day, great week wherever you are. Please stay safe and have a good one. Bye for now.